Nobody should be under pressure when it comes to making a decision about the place to live. My emphasis is always about information, especially when a man is going with his entire family. You have to find out about the city, find out about the country, find out about so many things that are necessary to or essential, to the comfort of your family. My name is Tulu Aladesomi and this is Relocating Right on YouTube. I want to encourage you to subscribe to this channel so that you can get notifications and all that information that you need. From time to time, you get the opportunity to ask questions, and then you also get the opportunity to have some of those little details that will be most helpful to you on this trip. Let's go on this journey. Hello. This is good afternoon from Nigeria, West Africa, and I'm saying hello to you. I don't know what time it is where you're watching from, but you're welcome all the same. My name is Tulu Aladesomi, and this is Relocating Right. Yay! I want to say thank you to all those who've been watching and referring this channel to others. I'm so excited about the fact that we've been able to help a lot of people. I mean, I get messages every now and then. People say thank you for the information. It was indeed helpful. Even those who live abroad, interestingly, they just watch because it's always a blessing to them. I'm grateful to God. And today we're going to go right into talking about something that is very important to a lot of us. I mean, you can't survive without it, okay? It's something that will bless you. Even if you have friends who live in the UK already, who live in Canada, in any country abroad, even if you live in Nigeria, honestly, it's something that you still need to learn to understand, because I believe that one of these days, Nigeria is going to get to that point where we would actually need it and would live on it. I trust God for a good leadership that would take us there. Okay, so before I bring my guest, I would like to encourage you, if you have not subscribed, kindly do that. And then put up your notification button so that when we upload a video or something, you get the chance, to know about it. So secondly, I'd just like to say, call your friends, send a text message, send a message to somebody and let them come right in here so that they can also get the benefits of being blessed and being well informed about now and about the future that we're going into. So get ready with your questions also. Don't forget, you can send your questions. When the time comes, I'll ask for you to please type it right there in the chat box on the YouTube page, and we'll be ready to answer your questions. Okay, so right about now, I'm excited to bring in my guest. So guess what? He was here a few weeks ago, and we indeed promised that we're going to bring him back. So a few weeks ago, we talked about managing finances and setting goals. If you haven't seen that video, I want to encourage you, please go and watch the video. For me to be like, Eco 101, okay? If you studied economics in school, it'll be like Eco 101 for that one, and this would be Eco 102, all right? Or no, Eco 202, okay? So it's like going into the 200 level right now, because now, if you've understood how to manage your finances, and then using this goal setting, I'm sure you would now appreciate this one. So, but whichever way, you will still be blessed. Okay, so let me bring in my guest right now. Yay! I'm excited to have you on board, Eddie, again.
Thank you so much for inviting me again.
Yeah, really excited to have you, Eddie. Thank you so much. All right, so this is Edison Odege, and he will just introduce himself again for those of you who don't know him or who have not seen that other video. All right, so let's just pretend like he's coming fresh. Actually, he's coming fresh, because the truth is that that the him that spoke that other time is not really the him who's speaking today, because you see, it's an upgraded him that we have today. All right. So Eddie, tell us a bit about you.
Thank you so much for inviting me to the program again. So Edison Odega is my name.
All
I'm
right.
an engineer by training, mechanical engineer. I actually had my bachelor's at the University of Benin, Nigeria. I also hold a master's in business administration from OAU Ile-Ife
Yeah.
before I moved out of Nigeria in 2016 to the US. I currently work for a company and I'm an engineering director with my company. And I live in Pennsylvania, USA today.
Okay.
I've been living in the US for the past since 2016, which is 6 years now. I'm married, and of course, I have 3 children.
Yay! That's awesome. That's an awesome part of your life.
Yes.
Oh, praise God. So Eddie is actually somebody. Okay, so somebody is wondering, okay, so this person just told us everything about himself, and he didn't mention the fact that he was a banker or,
Exactly.
an economic expert or something. So why did you bring him? Yes, I brought him because everything that he's going to be sharing today are things that I've seen him live. Okay, so it's not just somebody who's going to come out, because the truth is that people can actually go to school for something, but it's another thing to live that thing out. Okay, so this is a very good brother of mine that I've known for so many years, and I've seen him, I've watched him, and I know that everything that he's going to be sharing today are things that he himself has taken his time to learn. Okay, and it takes a lot of humility to learn. Okay, so there are things that I've seen him learn, and there are things that I've seen him put to use. So that's why he's here on this call. All right, so get ready to be blessed, everyone. Okay, so guess what? Today we're talking about the credit system, and I am sure that you saw that on the flyer. It's caught a number of people's attention, and I'm glad, because we need to talk about this money matter. Oh, hey, Eddie, we need to talk about this money matter because it is everything, really.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it is everything. So I know that a number of people are planning to travel, and then there are also people who recently relocated, and there are also people who have actually even been in that system for a while. And the truth is, honestly, they still don't really understand how this works. There's some people who've gotten into some financial mess because of certain decisions that they took, and it was because they just did not have the right information. Okay, so today we'll be talking about the credit system. And I'd just like to start, Eddie, by asking you, what is a credit-driven economy?
Okay, thank you so much for that. And like you said, this is a very, very important topic. So first and foremost, I think it's important that people understand that every economy is credit-driven. So a lot of people get the perception that, you need to live abroad to have to deal with credit systems. I don't think so.
Yeah.
The reason is because credit is the one that actually creates production and, secures the economy. In Nigeria today, for example, most of the big companies are actually doing business based on credit from financial institutions, right? So if you have a big company, many people do not have the ability to raise the capital for those kind of businesses.
That's it. All the big businesses that we see. Yeah.
Yes. So they actually go to the banks and they have a conversation, and the bank does an assessment to confirm that this person has the credibility, has the ability, and has a good plan that enables us to be able to recover the money over a period of time, right? And so that's how they provide money to most of those businesses. The difference here is that the system in Nigeria has not evolved to the point where it's, I have an individual need, so I go to the bank and I'm able to access the loan very easily. A lot of banks still do that. If you recall, there are people who work for government or work in very good companies that have leverage with the bank, so they can actually have a conversation to have their salaries diverted to the bank, and the bank receives their salary and takes a deduction first before it makes the balance available to them, blah, blah, blah. There's a process like that works in Nigeria. So my point being that the credit system is everywhere, right? And every economy is credit driven. Okay. Now, how does the credit system work abroad? That's slightly different from what people are used to, especially for people who would like to relocate abroad. The difference is that the access to credit is much easier abroad. And the reason is two things.
Okay.
So first and foremost, I believe very strongly that the reason why the credit system is very profound and successful abroad is because the governments abroad have taken the time to do this for two reasons.
Okay.
It has an economic value because,
Mm.
like we just talked about, it enables you to be able to create jobs, establish companies, give people employment, do all of those good things. So it brings a
Mm.
huge economic value. As a matter of fact, the banks would not survive if people are not borrowing their money, right? Because the banks are making a ton of money from the ability to, make loan available and recover that loan over a period of time. If people actually sit down and do the maths of
Okay.
how much interest they pay on their loans, they'll be very surprised because a lot of people do not know it just because the interest is built into their credit over a period of time and is almost insignificant. It really doesn't affect you when you pay it. But because you're paying over a period of time, when you put the amount you actually pay back to the bank, you'll be really shocked. So the banks are making a huge amount of money. So the economic benefit is one reason why the systems abroad have taken time to perfect the act of credit.
Mm.
The second reason is security. People may be very surprised, but you see, the reason why you have a lot of crime in countries that have to deal with a ton of poverty is because people want certain things that are necessities for them. They cannot access it. And then they do what? They become criminally minded, right? So they try to find a way to get that thing by all means, and sometimes negative means.
Mm.
When I really need to drive a car and I can actually walk into a bank and having had a good job, I can actually buy a car at a good price, get it at a very good rate. So I'm actually accessing the credit at a very good rate, right? Which
Okay.
makes sense. By the time I compare that to how much money I earn every month, I can comfortably pay the cost of that car over a period of time by just making a small payment out of my salary every month. And it's so organized and decent, right? In a way that it doesn't impact me. As a matter of fact, I get a lot of value out of doing that. Then why would I go and steal another person's car? Why will I go
Mm.
and kidnap somebody to get the money to buy that car?
Yeah.
So it's actually a strategy to address crime, right?
Wow.
And to address the issues of security. So people find less incentive to want to be criminally minded because what they really want, they can actually access through the credit system, right?
Mm.
So there's a ton of value for that. So that's one of the reasons why, like back to your question of, okay, what is a credit-driven economy, right? You know, economies abroad that do this and have perfected the act of doing this have done this very well because of the economic value and the
Mm.
security benefit that it brings.
Wow.
Now,
Awesome.
to
Mm.
to put more perspective on that question, because I just read it again, is a credit-driven economy is one where I can access credit for what I need and pay over time.
Okay.
So what is popular in a typical Nigeria is you have a debit card when you have a bank account, right? You take your debit card, you go to an ATM. It enables you to access the money that you have. That's what
Mm.
your debit card does for you. It's different than a credit system where you probably have a credit card that enables you to access money that you don't have, but is being loaned to you.
Mm.
Difference, okay? So it looks like the same physical card, but the difference is here I'm accessing money that is not my own, that I don't
Yeah.
have today, but that money that is being loaned to me. And it's being loaned to me very conveniently, right? Because I can just walk into an ATM and pull it out, or I can just make a payment online. And I'm actually making a payment based on a loan I just received from the bank. So that's pretty much what a credit-driven economy is. It's the ability to access money that you do not own for your needs and use it and pay it over time.
Wow. And paid over time. We kind of have something like that right now.
Exactly.
All these apps. But the thing is, I don't know how helpful this has been, but I know that a lot of people have gotten themselves into such a financial mess, because they've not been able to pay back, and before they know it, the rate at which the interest rose in is unbelievable for them.
So
So
if you
you
if you listen
started
to
out meaning well, and the next thing it got out of hand.
if you listen to what I said
Yeah.
earlier on very carefully, you will notice that I placed a lot of emphasis on the interest rate.
Yeah.
Having lived in Nigeria before and access credit while I was living in Nigeria, and having lived abroad and used the credit system as well, I can tell you the huge difference is, first and foremost, two things.
Okay. All right.
Is the interest rate, which is in Nigeria very volatile, and not very well controlled. Because you can actually access credit and say, over this period of time, I would assume the interest rate to be this much. Now, the interest rate abroad is usually more reasonable, first and foremost, usually single digits. And for the government to increase the interest rate or to adjust the interest rate, it's a lot of discussions.
Yeah.
In Nigeria, you can actually borrow, go and get a credit from even a very reputable financial institution, and the interest rate just changes because the CBN just wakes up tomorrow and says, hey, you know what? This is the situation of the country, and to control the economy, we're going to X, Y, Z interest rate. And by default, your bank is not even waiting, it's not even giving you a heads up, they just reflect it. So you go and look at your monthly payment, and your interest rate has changed, right? And usually the interest rates in Nigeria today is not single digit for sure, it's double digit. So you're paying a lot, so accumulating a lot, and then it could just increase without you planning for it. So it puts you in a more difficult position. The second part of it that makes that very unattractive and forces you to think serious before you do that, especially in a place like Nigeria, is the credit recovery system.
Okay.
What do I mean by that? Abroad, if you are owing a debt because you have actually collected credit, the bank is going to send you a reminder. They give you the option to have a payment plan which says, okay, you can no longer continue to pay this amount every month. Let's reduce the amount to 1/3 of it. Let's spread over this period of time. Let's make it very convenient for you to repay.
You to pay back.
And even if we don't have enough time based on what you are offering to pay,
goodness,
and you cannot accept how much you are hoping to pay, we can actually do what we call sell your loan to a debt recovery company that pays off the bank, gets it back off your back, and then works with you to be able to pay it on. In Nigeria, nobody has that time for you.
No.
Right?
That's why just see me laugh right now because I'm like,
you pay. Thank you very much. Police. Or now, what I've heard that they started doing is not even police. They harass you with other people.
Yes. Yeah. Send people messages.
Public embarrassment.
Yes.
So it's really frightening. And we'll talk about this as we go on this show, to access credit in Nigeria. And that fright causes a mentality that's not helpful when people jack back. Because now people carry that fear into a system
and they're like, no, I don't want to have anything to do with this. Let me just make money and move at my pace. But it's never going to work.
So very important to do this comparison.
So I guess that leads us to our next question, right, Eddie?
I believe so.
Hello, Eddie, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So sorry. For a few seconds, I couldn't hear you.
Okay. I think it was hanging for a few seconds. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Very loud and clear.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah. So I now said, okay, so now that we are here, let's just get right into it. So must one really live on credit? Because you see, coming from Nigeria, I have never had to. So I'm thinking, if I need to live abroad now, are you saying I will have to with my faith?
No. So the answer is no. You don't need to live on credit.
Yeah.
It's absolutely okay to live your life based on how much you earn. I mean, people have the mindset and the behavior of, I want to be able to say, I can really afford this thing, which means they save up for it and then they go for it, or they figure out how to sort it out, right?
Okay.
It's absolutely okay to be in that place. But here's my recommendation for you. When you start to look at the numbers and you look at the benefits that come with using the credit system, I don't think it's a bad idea. I'll give you a very simple example. Imagine that you want to buy a car, right? And sometimes you will be shocked that abroad, if people are smart enough, and that's why financial intelligence is really important, you can actually get something that is available on credit at what we call a zero APR, which means the interest rate is almost zero because there's a promotion.
Okay. Because there's a what?
Because there's a promotion, because it's a promotional sale.
Okay.
Reality is that the company who's offering that has technically put something in the price that helps them to offset the interest rate of borrowing that money from the bank. Because what's going to happen is when they give it to you on credit at almost zero interest, 0% interest rate, right?
Okay.
And you're paying over time, the financial institution that is responsible for that transaction pays them off for what you're buying and starts to recover the money from you. And the interest rate for that whole process, if you do the compound interest, blah, 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 interest rate for that whole process has been taken up, has been considered in the price of that good. So don't be fooled. But the reality is that sometimes you actually have those opportunities. So take an instance of you have $40,000 today.
Okay.
And you really want to buy a car. You want to buy a good car, a new car. Okay, let me even be a bit more reflective of what I consider the actual situation for somebody who's just relocating, given that that's the program we're on, right? You're just relocating, you get into a country, you want to buy a car. The car is $8,000 because it's 5 years old, it's used a couple of times, and that's a good place to start from. I really like to reinforce this because we're talking relocating, right? So that people understand that when you relocate, you don't have to start from the top, right? You can start from somewhere. Very important. So you have $8,000 and you could actually pay $8,000 for this car, or you have the option to actually buy this car, pay $2,000, and over 2 years pay the balance $6,000. And as part of paying that $6,000, you only have to pay, call it $100 or $200 every month. Which would you prefer? Now, given your situation, you could say, out of this 8,000, I put 2,000 down, I got $6,000. $6,000 can solve a ton of other needs immediately and still give me the ability to transport, which is I still buy the car.
Yeah.
You see what I'm trying to say? So you start to see that the economic value provides for you as an individual to be able to use a credit system that is very considerate of you, which of course, like I said, gives you a very low interest rate, enables you to be able to plan out your repayment plan, right? Very conveniently, and does it in such a way that your repayment is almost inconsequential to your income.
Yeah, that's awesome.
If you are consistent and disciplined over the period of time, such that you'll just be surprised, just like time flies, 2 years comes and goes by, and you didn't realize that you just paid for the car, and you're done. And at that point in time, you could actually take the $6,000 and do something else. Your kids have to get into school. You have to get a house. You have to pay an initial rent and all that, right? So it becomes options. My point is that using a credit system enables you to access options when it comes to finances. And it takes the stress and burden off you. Now, if you have $8,000, should you go use a credit system? Absolutely no. Right? But if you are in a situation where this helps, this provides help from a stress level, yes. And I also think that financially is a smarter thing to do. Because then I can use my $6,000 to do something else. And here's what a lot of business people will do. Put the $6,000 in something else that we pay the $100 every month. So technically in 2 years, I still get my $6,000.
Yeah, and then some extra for myself.
And some extra on top of that. And I just bought a car on top of it.
Yeah.
When you do the maths, you will see that at the end of the day, if you are disciplined and responsible, you are making more money, right? You are getting better financially, such that you don't always have to use all your money to make bulk payments at the same time, right? So I hope I answered the question, which is, must you access credit?
Yes, you did.
Answer is
must
no.
I live on credit?
Must you live on credit? Answer is no. You must not live on credit. But it has a ton of advantages
if you do
live long, because it takes the stress off you. And I think if you're financially smart, you can actually make the most out of your money by applying credit.
Yeah. So for me, I guess it's dealing with the fear of what maybe like a past experience, the fear of the country you're coming from, the experience you've had or not had, because sometimes it's not your personal experience, it's somebody else's experience, and you're like, oh no, I don't want to get into it. So this is basically about understanding. It's some financial intelligence, like you said. And so it's understanding. So if you really don't understand, even beyond now, if you still want to understand this more, please make sure that you get in touch with somebody that helps you to understand it, because you can actually benefit from this. This is what we're saying. You don't have to, but you can benefit from it. All right. Thank you so much. Now, so what are some of those qualities that one needs to possess to be able to work this system effectively? Because I realize that it's not for everybody, as it were, because there's certain people who are just very indisciplined and all of that. So what kind of qualities that, in fact, that such that anyone who is here right now can even start working on, because all of us have the ability to work on ourselves. We can be deliberate about discipline. So what are those qualities that are needed?
Very good question. And that's very important because, like we said, not everybody should access the credit system. There are certain qualities you should possess, in my opinion. And as a matter of fact, if you are planning to jackpot and hoping to leverage this credit system someday in the future, I would strongly advise that you start to learn some of those skills and you start to practice some of those to ensure that it becomes really a habit for you. I think first and foremost, you need to understand your income. Right? Some people do not have a good habit of understanding how much they really earn every month. Right? So when you do form the habit of sometimes just once in a while making a very good summary of how did money come into your account or how did money come into your hand this month, and is that and then when you do that, the first question you want to ask yourself is that a steady, reliable means? So some people get money from a salary, they get money from a business to do, they get money from this. What does that really amount to? Like, so when I put the probability of getting this every month, I get the probability of getting that every month. What is really my income every month? Let's take a hypothetical example and say my income is really 300,000 naira every month, right? I get 250,000 from a salary, which I'm sure will come every month, right? And I get 50,000 from a side hustle, which I do, right? So sometimes as part of my side hustle, I get 150,000. Sometimes I get 20,000. So just reliably, I'm very convinced that no matter how bad it is, right, 50,000 will come. So it's reliable income. So first of all, have the habit to be able to say, what's your reliable income? 2, have the habit to be able to say, what's my expenses looking like? Okay, and we'll come to why this is extremely important. So your expenses are things that you know every month you normally do, right? I have to pay my house rent. There's an average amount I pay for my fuel in my car, right? There's a cost that I pay for electricity. And now I'm talking to people living in Nigeria, right? There's cost that I pay. I used to buy fuel in my generator at home. There's cost that I need to pay by my guard who guards my house. There's cost for paying security for my street, right? There's cost for all of those things. And I have a very good idea what that really looks like. And I say, okay, this is how much I have left. Once you can have a controlled attitude of being able to understand income and expenditure, and you can actually track it out, then you can over a period of time project what your income really is, your expenses really is, and what your ability to save really is. And I'll tell you why this is very important. Once you have that habit, right, when you Japan, you move abroad, then it becomes even much critical, right? Because abroad, naturally you find yourself, in a situation where you have to sometimes pay bills, especially if you use a credit system. You have to form that habit of being able to track things very well. And the reason why that's important is because if you miss a commitment to make a payment, right, it could have negative implications. 1, you pay more because you get charged a late interest. 2, it will impact what we call your credit score, which is very critical. And we'll talk about it later today, right? When you start having those missed payments. So if you have not formed the habit of being able to track and be on top of your income and expenses, right? When you jackpot, it becomes a bit more of a struggle for you and you cannot stay on top of things, okay? So that's the first thing I would say. 2, it's the second habit you need to have is the ability to be able to forecast what your savings looks like and how you intend to spend it. Why is that important? That is important because, like we said at the beginning, credit is actually accessing money for something you need to do today, but you will pay back later. If you cannot forecast how much you can save or how much can come into your hand as a saving, you cannot tell your ability to be able to repay credit that you access. And if you don't have a good control over that, you will access credit that will require payment that is more than what you can save, and that's where you run into debt.
Okay.
Too much. Let me try to break it down. I hope that was clear enough, right? I could use numbers to kind of demonstrate that. So I earn $300,000, 300,000 naira. Okay, 300,000 naira is my income based on all my income analysis. I can track that. That's my reliable income. I spend 250,000 naira. That's by the time I pay my tithe, do everything, it's 250,000. So really, what I really can put aside after a very disciplined month is like 50,000. It means that if I need to access credit, I should access credit. I should only access the amount of credit that requires me to pay less than 50,000 as repayment every month. Does that make sense to you now?
Very much. Yes.
So if I'm able to do these three components, understand them very well, number one, then I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
Third thing is I must have the ability to use credit wisely, which means credit should typically be used for only two things. One, it's a necessity, which means if you don't have it, something will go wrong for you, right? It's a necessity, not a want to, not shoes, not, those kind of stuff. Like, it's a necessity. And two, it can generate money, which is the reason why a lot of people use credit for businesses. It's perfect example, right? So let me explain that a little bit. It's a necessity means I really need to have a house over my head. Otherwise, I'll be living on the street. Credit. I really need a car because the transportation system is so terrible. I can't cope with my work. Credit is okay. I really need food. Well, if you cannot afford food, I don't recommend credit for you, to be honest. Right? But my point being that it has to be something that is clear necessity.
Yeah.
Not because the money is available, then I have to take it and now I have to figure out what I do with the money. No. Or I'm trying to just do something that I want to do. Like I get credit to go on a vacation. Doesn't smell nice, right? So that's the first point. Secondly, it has to be for something that generates money.
Okay.
So I'm taking this credit, right? And I know that whatever I'm putting it into is going to generate some income for me. Maybe for the first couple of months, the amount of money or profit I will generate from this, whatever I'm doing with the money is not going to pay what I need to repay for it. But at least when I've done my income and expenditure analysis, I know that I have enough to be able to cover for what that gap really looks like. Now, let me add a caveat here. I've seen a lot of people go to borrow money, access credit, because they want to invest in things like stock market. So I can borrow 3 million, 4 million, and I put it in a stock.
Okay.
And then tomorrow morning the stock drops. What happens? So I've lost the ability to make a reliable profit. And I use that example to drive home a very clear point, which is whatever I'm accessing credit for, if the intent is to put it in something that generates profit for me, it needs to be a reliable credit. So with some measure of risk, I agree, but a reliable credit.
Yeah.
So don't go borrow money to put in things that have a high level of certainty, right? Because if something changes, you get into trouble. Now, all of this is very important because inability to manage the credit system well result in a lot of health challenges. People will have blood pressure.
Yeah.
They will have, stress, just cut their life short. But people who have mastered the act and use it right with these qualities that I've talked about, right? They live long. They are at peace because they can manage their wealth very well. So that's the difference.
Yeah.
Number one, be somebody who has a very good handle.
Thank you so much. This is so
and be very disciplined with tracking. Same with expenses, such that you can always know what your your savings ability is, and that will determine how much credit you should really access, because you never access credit that requires a payment that is more than what you can save or what you can protect for. Okay, important. Otherwise, you get into debt. And then the third point being, you must be very choiceful. You must have formed the habit of being very choiceful on what to use your credit for. For some people, it could be when you're trying to learn the habits, or you're trying to, instill this quality in yourself. You could have a credit card and you tell somebody else, keep the credit card. Except I tell you what I want to use it for, or physically you are present where I want to use it, in case you have a very bad habit with money, right? Don't give me the credit card. You force yourself to learn some of those skills such that you can make those right decisions when money becomes available to you. Because the reality is that once you jackpot and you can access the credit system, what really happens is that money becomes available to you. Now, if you don't have those qualities we just talked about, if you have not learned those things along the way, you're going to misuse money and get into trouble eventually.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, so we're moving forward. Thank you so much for that, Eddie. So how do I understand how to maximize the credit? No, that's not what I wanted to ask. Please give me a second. Let me check there was something before that. So how do I maximize my finances in a credit-driven economy? Because you see, this is actually the goal of everyone, right? The goal is to be able to grow financially. The goal is to be able to, have some wealth. I mean, the fact that you're moving to another country doesn't mean that God can't bless you there. So, but God will bless you through the work of your hand. But then you need some financial intelligence, and that's what this is about. So, can you share with us, how do I do that?
So I think it builds on a number of the things we just talked about.
Yeah.
If you have the right qualities, then you can dare to access the credit system.
Okay.
Right. So make sure you build the right habits with money. You understand your income, your expenses, and your potential to save before your ability to be able to save, and how much that looks like before you access the credit system. Now, once you've done that, then you want to be able to access the right kind of credit. So it means that when I'm trying to negotiate for a credit, I'm trying to get a credit, I need to read between the fine lines. Because what I found out is abroad, there's a lot of paperwork. And it comes in a way that you most times are in a position where you just want this thing. And you don't have the patience to read the fine lines. So they just give you the document and you're just going to, okay. And they will tell you, this one you're signing is for this, and then you just sign and go.
Wow.
But you read the fine lines of what you're really committing yourself to, right? So be very intentional about understanding the responsibilities and implications for the credit that you're accessing. 1. 2, take time to do comparison. In our last conversation, I tried to encourage people to say, feel free to speak out, ask questions, talk to people. Now, if you don't want to talk to people, or there's nobody around that you feel like you can talk to, go to somebody that is providing you something and ask the question. And I always tell people, feel free to walk into the bank. If you have a financial question, walk into any bank. Go to customer service and feel comfortable to sit down. I don't know if that's very practical in Nigeria, but at least abroad, feel very comfortable to sit down and say, I'd like to get a credit for XYZ, or I need money for XYZ. Person will ask you, what's your name? Are you eligible for credit? Do you have a social security number? They will provide everything about you. And after that, they will tell you whether you can or not. And even when they tell you that you can, ask them what kind of credits are available. A lot of people don't even know that there are differences in the kind of credit cards you take. There are credit cards that you take that do not give you any benefits. There are credit cards that you take that give you benefits. That's what they call cashback.
Wow.
So by being able to access credit cards, for example, that give you cashback, it means that for every payment, for every purchase that you make, you get a certain amount that the bank pays back to you. Can you believe that? So over a period of time, even though it's a very small percentage, you'll be very shocked that in a year, you may have earned as high as $1,000 or $2,000 from just cashbacks.
Mm.
So people don't even know and understand that there are certain things that get higher percentages inside the cashback. So now I've even taken a credit card that has a cashback.
Mm.
But within the credit card that has a cashback, there are certain purchases that are supported more than some other purchases. Oh my God. Which means that if I, for example, buy gas, or I, for example, do groceries, I get this higher percentage than if I use my credit for this. This is what I'm saying. So it
Yeah.
means that if I have a credit card like that, I want to use the credit card much more for where the cashback or the benefit that comes out of it is even much higher. My point being, try to seek information as much as possible before you make a decision.
Make a decision. Wow.
Right? That is one way to maximize it, because you'll be very surprised that there's some credit cards that you can take it and you reach a certain level and you get a free vacation for you and your family. Can you believe that? Yes. Right? There are certain credits that you access. So for example, if I am torn between accessing, credit to buy a car and credit to buy a house, which one should I choose? Interestingly, a mortgage would earn you more reputation in the credit system than a car note or a car purchase. So if I am struggling between both based on information, I know that I should go for something that, one, helps me to build my credit score faster, and we'll talk about that later, right? Two, gives me more ability to earn wealth and to borrow in the future if I need to. And mortgages have much more leverage on that than a lot of other credits that you access. That's why you see a lot of people investing in houses, like they buy houses versus use their credit to do other things. So information is
very
key.
Very. I could just
Get
tell.
the right quality.
I mean, it's obvious you're a product of information right now. I mean,
get the right
out,
qualities in place.
Yeah.
To be informed before you make the decision. They'll give you a lot of documents. They'll give you a lot of things. Oh, my friend has come to use it. Even ask the question, what did when your friend used it, can I see the document still? Maybe my friend was blindsided and he didn't take the time to pay attention to some detail. I still want to understand it before I commit myself to it. Take the time. Understand, read a little bit. Ask the questions, right? What the credit system really looks like and all those kind of stuff, right? So information is key. Now, the third one is wealth creation. I've said many times in a different way in this program so far.
Yeah.
What should I be accessing credit for? I should be accessing credit when I want to be able to invest in a business, build wealth. And a business could be any. Again, let me say very clearly, because when you say business, people go, oh, what kind of business would that be like? Right? It looks like a big thing. No, it's anything that enables you to earn some form of return, call it profit, on a regular basis from an investment. Simple, chicken. So it could be as little as, I don't know what example it is, that brings you $1 every day, or brings you 10 naira every day, right? It's something that you should consider. Now that I have the ability, a lot of people will notice when they come into when they travel abroad, that once they start doing well on credit, they will start being chased by a lot of lenders. You get mails in your house, they'll tell you how great your credit score is, how well you're doing, how your credit history is, and that they're willing to give you 30,000 right now. You just need to go online and sign. And I'm serious, I'm not joking. In 1 minute, 2 minutes, you sign up, you can access the $30,000. Like, boom. It's almost like money, free money. To maximize, so to your question, to maximize your resources in the credit-driven economy, you need to be choiceful to apply, to take that, again, and we'll talk about whether you should take or not earlier on. Be smart to apply that only when, like I said before, it's a necessity, or it is something that earns you profit. And usually my advice to people is the profit should be able to pay back what you pay as a commitment to repay that loan over 3 years. If the math does not work, don't put yourself in it, because you don't want to add stress to yourself. You don't want to cut your life short. So those are some of the ways to maximize, your finance in a credit-driven economy. Number one, make sure you are disciplined not to abuse it. Like I said, make sure you have the right quality for it. Make sure you use it only where it is needed and creates more income for you, right? and make sure that you take your time to be informed about the commitment before, because there are many things that are tied to a credit system, right? And anybody can offer you credit. Make sure that when you're going for it, you're looking for a way to get the best from it.
Hmm. Awesome. I love the credit cards with the cash back. I hope somebody heard that. So go make your findings, okay? Yeah, go and ask questions. Go walk into that bank. I mean, walk in and ask all the questions that you need to ask. Okay, so how do I keep my credit score at the right level? You said something about credit score. So first of all, let's understand what this credit score is.
Okay. So a credit score is a number. Let's start from there.
Okay.
And it's a number that tells information about you and how you manage your credit. It tells whether you are somebody that has accessed the credit system, because the number is also a reflection of how long you have been using credit. So the longer you use credit, the more advantage you get and the higher your number can be. So that's the information it passes. That's one information it passes around for you. Secondly, it tells how reliable you have been at repaying credit when you take it. So if you are very good at paying credit back, right? Your credit score will be on the high side. It means that you are reliable when it comes to getting credit or using credit, right?
Yeah.
It also tells a lot about what you use credit for. So if you have things like a mortgage, right? Like those things that I would consider core necessities, right? Your credit cost seems to be skewed towards being higher, because when you borrow money for fun things, like I just walk into a shop and I like a shoe and I like a dress, or I'm going to a party and I must not wear the dress that I've worn before in my wardrobe because I only wear my dresses once, and now I walk into a shop and I buy a whatever, and you spend your credit that way, it will reflect in your credit score. So where you are using your credit is also showing on how well you're building your credit score. Okay? So again, to be more specific about your question, number one, it is a number. Credit score is a number that provides information about how you use credit, which is, it tells us information about your credit history.
Okay.
And some of the information contained in that number are exactly what I explained, which is, how long have you been using credit? Have you been using the credit system for a long time? 2, are you a reliable person when it comes to credit? Do you pay as at when due? Because like I said before, if you miss your payments back, it reflects in your credit score. And how are you using credit? If you're using credit for some of those things that are core necessities, right? Very important things like mortgage will always, make a better impact on your credit score than something else. It tells us where you're putting your money. So basically, overall, it tells us who you are when it comes to credit. That's what your credit score does.
Wow. Interesting. Okay, so now how do I then keep my credit score at that right level? How do I ensure that, I maintain this integrity that is most needed or required?
Very good question. So I think, first of all, I will start by saying there are certain factors that affect your credit score. The first one of them is what we call payment history. As a matter of fact, data says that it's 40% of what your credit score looks like is a reflection of your payment history, right? So it's a question of, do you pay your bills on time? Right? Are you on time with your payments? So to answer your question of how do I make my credit score higher, on this factor, you do two things. Number one, you make sure you're never late for a credit payment, whether it's a credit card, whether it's a mortgage, whether it's a car note, whatever it is. Whatever commitment you have made on a credit, you're never late for it. You're always on time with the credit payment. 2, if you can show and demonstrate that you have the ability to pay much more than what you are being required to pay on a going basis. So when you access credit, they will usually tell you, what's your term for accessing credit? Is it a 24 months? Is it 60 months? Is it 80 months? Is it 72 months? People will be shocked that they can actually access credit for 72 months. We'll come to that conversation later today. Why you should or you should not do that. Very important. But based on that, for every month, there's going to be a certain amount that you need to pay to be able to, for the bank or the financial institution to be able to recover that money, right?
Okay.
If you are able to pay much more than what they're asking you to pay, so every month they'll tell you your payment due is $120.
Okay.
Or is $120. Let me just use that as an example. And then you pay $200. And you tell the bank, please apply the difference of $80 to my original principal, which means reduce how much I borrowed from you by $80. So, but what that does is, one, it reduces how much you have to pay, which will be the case anyways, and it reduces the amount of interest you're able to pay. We'll come to that nitty-gritty later, why that's very important. But my point being, if you're able to pay something much more than what you're being asked to pay on a regular basis from a payment history, which has 40% weight on your credit score, you'll be on a good spot. So just by dealing with those two things I just talked about, you are setting yourself up to get a credit score in the right place. And we'll talk about what's the right place in a minute. Okay?
Yeah. Please talk about that. I want you to talk about that now, because you just spoke about 40%. So meaning that the credit score, it's a number, but then there's certain, it looks to me like there are certain percentages that make up for that number.
Yep. So what I just, okay, let me start by saying this. The credit score is a number system, right?
Okay.
People that have a credit score of 300 to 600 are considered to have a poor credit score.
Okay.
People that have 601 to 657 are considered to have what we call a fair credit score. People that have 658 to 719, call it 720, are considered to have a good credit score. People that have 720 to 780 are considered to have very good credit score. People that have 781 to 850 are considered to have an excellent credit score. At a minimum, you should have what? It's a good credit score. So your credit score at the minimum should be 658. Now, there's some reasons why sometimes your credit score will be lower, less than 658, and we can talk about that if we have time on the show today. But anything above 650, pretty much you're starting to look good from a credit score perspective. You want to, as much as possible, keep your credit numbers in the 700 and in the 800s. Very important. There are a couple of factors that affect that, like I said before, and your payment history is 40% of the weight of that number. So if your payment history is not doing fine, you can already imagine it's going to be impacting your ability to grow that number. So if your credit score today is, for example, maybe 400, or let's call it 500, and you want to get better, form the habit of making sure you're always on time with your payments, right? And that you sometimes, or most times, pay more than what you're asked to pay. It does have a lot of value.
Wow.
Second factor that can affect your credit score is your current balance.
Okay.
Right? Now, that's a very important one, because that is a huge reflection on your credit mentality. So people come abroad, they take all form of credits. When you want to access credit, the bank does what they call a debt to income ratio, which means all the debt you owe in everywhere, because the credit system is very solid. We have what we call a credit bureau that takes note of all the credit you owe. So all the monies you owe within the country, right, are reported into a credit bureau. So they already know how much you owe everywhere, whether you took it from A or whether you took it from B or you took it from state. Why you are in state A, you are in state B, you cannot hide. The data is flowing centrally, right? So they can already see, this is my total, what we call balance, credit balance. And when I compare that, let's use numbers again to make it simple, right? I compare that to say, my income is $5,000. My income is $3,000. I want to start reasonably, because people who are just relocated will probably start from lower income level. So I want to be a bit more realistic, right? My income is $3,000, and right now, because I took credit from that person, I took credit from that person, I took credit from that person, and based on what I just talked a couple of minutes ago, my term of payments, some of them are 24 months, some of them are 36 months, some of them are 72 months. All the financial institutions have worked out how much I need to be paying them every month to be able to recover the total credit I borrowed. Now, the total credit I borrowed, if I sum it together, could be maybe $8,000. I want to use the right numbers that will scare people so that they don't go and get themselves into credit.
Good.
$8,000.
Yeah.
And now, because of and to get $8,000, I borrowed, I took a credit card that the limit was $2,000 in one place. I took a credit card that the limit was $3,000 in one place. I bought a car and I have to pay car notes, which is the money I pay every month because of that car that I bought, of $500, right? I don't know. I made a commitment somewhere else, and this is my, I owe something somewhere else, and here's my payment plan, and this is how much I need to be paying. By the time I add all those monies of how much I need to pay, I am now paying maybe 1,500 every month, right? So I'm paying 300 to this one, I'm paying 400 to this one, I'm paying 100 to this one, I'm paying that, I'm paying 1,000. So that means that my debt to income ratio is now what? 50%. So what if next person who's going to borrow me money is going to do is going to then get a data about my expenses. So you make $3,000. That's why I said, remember at the beginning I said, for those qualities, make sure you have a very good data about your income, your expenses. That's what the next person who's going to borrow you money is going to ask you for. Show me your expenses. So they'll do an analysis of your expense, what comes out of your account, what you spend money on. Okay. I don't want to digress, but you notice that some people are very good at doing what we call a cash economy. So there's some people who actually don't go through the banking system. And this is where sometimes the disadvantage shows up, right? So let's keep that one for another conversation. Okay. But let's continue where we are. So I now say, okay, I produce my expenses. My total expenses every month is what? Is $1,200. So my regular expense is $1,200. My debt, which I have to pay every month, is what? $1,500. That's how much? $2,700. The bank now knows, as part of their risk assessment, that for me to give this person money, two things. One, it's a big risk, because what the money I'm giving this person maybe is going to require the person to pay $300. So by the time this person pays this $300, the person has spent all his money paying loan and paying expenses, has no savings, cannot leave. If anything happens, the person is stranded, right? There's a chance that this person will miss paying the money that they owe me. At least will miss their payments. Now, I can choose out of that risk to say, I want to go ahead and give the person the money, right? Or I can say, no, I don't want to give the person the money. It's too much risk. Most likely, many banks will still go ahead and give the person the money. Why? Because they are very rich. And what they need to give you is not significant. So what they will lose if you fail, it's not significant compared to how much money they make. But here's what they do. They then increase your interest rate, huge, so that the amount of the interest you pay on that money going forward, right, is really high, right? Because the analysis we just did is a good reflection of the fact that you're in a tight financial situation. Yeah. You're in a difficult spot. So it's them taking advantage of you now. They offer it to you and you will now take it, and it to be a higher rate. So over a period of time, something that you'll be paying 4% or 5% for, you're paying 22% for it. Right? How do you get out of that? Okay, now let's come back to the balance question. So if I can control the balances, my balance, right? And what helps you to grow your credit score is the fact that your balances look like this. Which means if my balance was 8,000 this month, next month is 7,500, which means I have paid 500 out of it. But the balance of how much I still owe out of that 8,000, now 7,500. Next month is 7,300. Next month is 7,000. Even if it's 7,250, I move $50 out. The next month is, So when I add the total amount of how much I owe progressively every month, cumulatively every month is going down, then my credit score will start to go higher. Because what that means is that I have the ability to take on more credit.
Okay.
Following that analysis I did for you now, because my balances are going down,
Yes.
it means that my ability to be able to repay anybody that gives me credit is increasing. So that reflects my credit score. Does that make sense? So it reflects in the credit score number. Okay. Now, I know this is going to be too conk. This is going to take a bit of time. So I don't know how much time we have, but let's keep going. Right?
Yeah. No. But honestly, so the truth is, anybody who's not been exposed to this before now may need to watch again and actually get your book and your paper and your pen and write. And then so you learn these things, but in actualizing it, meaning by the time you now actually get into that country, thankfully we're still here. It's YouTube, okay? So you can always come back and watch again, because sometimes until you find yourself in the place where you're actually having to deal with it, actually having to deal with it, then at that point, this first listening is good for everyone, but then when you now need to actualize it, then you can then come back and watch again. But I think it's something that you really need to watch again and write. Even I would come back and learn. Yeah. Even I will come back. Yes.
So the third point, thank you for reinforcing that. I think, it's always good that, today technology has helped us that we can record many of these things and we can always go back to them. So people should absolutely take advantage of that. The third point is very critical to help you drive your credit score up. It's like I said before, your length of use of credit, right? In other words, length and type of credits. Remember I talked about that. How long have you had different types of credit accounts?
Repayment. Okay.
So let me get a little bit more practical here for somebody who's just jackbarring.
Okay.
And that's why when you asked the question earlier on, do I have to use credit? The answer is no, but I say I recommend it. If you just jackbar, when you get there, you have your Social Security, which is critical for you to have credit, because that's the only way they can track you. Don't be afraid. Get a credit card that is $500. Start easy. That the limit, if they want to give you 2,000, tell them no, please, I beg you, God, make it 500 for me, so that I start easy. It has to be absolutely what I can afford. That if the whole world goes wrong and I'm so stupid and I go spend the money, right? At least for me, that's my recommendation. So people can decide to, people have different risk levels. They can decide to take something higher, but my point is start little.
Okay,
and the reason is because it helps you to build your credit score, like I just talked. Length of credit usage. So over 12 months, if you have used, you have had an attitude of using a credit card over a period of time and reliably paying back over a period of time, it helps to get your credit score. Because who would I give money to? If you were the bank, you have two people standing in front of you. Somebody has been using credit for 10 years. Somebody is using credit for only 2 years. Who will you give money to?
Oh, 10 years.
Absolutely, because this guy for 10 years has shown the ability that he has mastered the system.
Yeah.
He knows what to use the money for. He pays it back. He's reliable. So that's data that the credit bureau is looking at, which is how long have you been using credit? So people come in, they don't want to touch credit, they don't want to use credit, and all of a sudden, after 3 years, they find out, oh, I have to buy a house now after access credit. Then they go get a credit card today, and in 6 months, their credit score is still very low because you just started using credit. You don't have any credit history. You have nothing reporting on your credit score. So be very intentional. And that's why sometimes you have to be financial. It comes back to financial intelligence. That the reason why I'm accepting this credit card, the first credit card they offered me when I came to US, I told them blunt no.
Okay.
I told them blunt no, sorry. In fact, many places I go to, they offer me credit and I tell them, no, sorry, I'm not taking. Thank you very much. It was very nice of you, but at this point in time, I'm not willing to take one. Very nicely, politely reject it. I did that at the beginning, but I found out over time that was a mistake. We have taken one. Please, emphasis, one. Don't take 5. One. and make sure it's a very manageable amount, which means it's an amount that if something went wrong with me and I used all of what was in that card, I can still conveniently pay. And I'll come back to talk about that in a couple of minutes. But yeah, take one with a small amount so that after 2 years, you will have something in your credit bank that will impact your credit score.
Nice.
That projects your credit score up, such that if you need to use that credit score, the credit score is already in a good place. Okay. And I try to make this very practical because of the program, right? Just because I know there are a lot of people who are just relocating and all of that kind of stuff, right? So that's very important. Another one that's very important that people need to be mindful of is what we call recent credits. Okay, what does that mean? Let me explain that. Most of the time when you come,
what did you say that is? Recent
credit.
Recent,
like recent. You just did it now. Time, recent.
Okay.
Recent credits, like you just credit, you just access now.
Okay,
right?
recent.
Yes, recent credits that you just access now.
Yeah.
It's another factor that affects the credit score. Let me explain it to you and make it very practical. When you come, you jackpot, you go somewhere, you got this credit card, you started building credit history, and now you want to leverage your credit score to be able to access credit. So you want to buy something on credit. And the people come, okay, before they give you, of course, anything on credit, they'll run your credit score.
Yeah.
Be sure, first and foremost, that you want to buy that thing, that you're really, you have made up your mind to buy that thing before you allow anybody to run your credit. Because when they run your credit, it triggers in the credit bureau as a recent attempt to borrow.
Wow.
So if everywhere you are going, people are running credit, because if you want to buy something on credit, normally the person will run a credit history on you, like check your credit score and get all those information. When they do that, it triggers on the credit bureau. The notification is there. So if you start to get too many of that, it's an indication that you're trying to borrow money everywhere. You need money. You are desperate, right? It changes progressively. If you see what I mean? So it shows up as a recent credit activity. And if that's very frequent, it affects your credit. So back to the question you asked about, how do I increase my credit score? If I only use it when I need to use it, and I only run my credit history when I need to run my credit history, and I space them out significantly, that helps me to make my credit score much higher.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Okay. So there are a couple of other factors, but just for time's sake, I will stop at those 4.
Yeah.
Those 4 actually have the most impact on your credit score.
Wow. Interesting.
So in summary, for somebody who's just jackbarring and coming now, try to start early. Again, I always, last time we talked on this program, I said,
and start small.
Yes. Last time we talked on this program, I said, number 1, make sure before you relocate, from a financial point, you close up the baggage in Nigeria properly.
Okay, yeah.
So there's always a challenge, because when people move, the first few months, they're trying to, first of all, find their feet here. And if they've not zipped up properly everything that they were committed to in Nigeria, it just drags them. When you're in a mode where you're still being dragged left, right, center, please don't try to get into the credit system, right? Because you don't want to start with a bad record.
You'll be tempted to get that and send home.
Yes. You don't want to start with the bad. In fact, you've just brought something up and possible that people should not to run away from. Let me just say that very quickly, since you brought it up. When you have a credit card, it allows you, depending on the limit you have on the credit card and the amount and the type of institution that's offering you, the type of credit card you have, to be able to borrow, to collect money. So you can actually put it in an ATM machine and it will give you cash to some certain level. People can do that and send back home, right? But guess what? The amount of money you pay for a cash withdrawal on a credit card, the interest is very high, and it reads negative instantly on your credit score. So that provision is for, it's a health challenge. I have really like it's a do or die, then that money, you see, again, back to why we have a credit-driven economy. It's to make money accessible so that you're not criminally minded. You're in a desperate situation, you need to do something. That is available to you. But should you access it when you don't need it? Absolutely no. So keep that in mind. And that's why I caution and I coach a lot to say, when before you leave Nigeria, please zip Nigeria up properly. Make sure most of the things there, you have something that takes care of them. I'll give people advice. Say, I know it's very difficult. And I see, I completely understand. It's very difficult. You don't have enough money to buy the ticket first in the first place. So how can you even save money back and say, okay, you guys manage yourself? Have a very good conversation with the people there. Of okay, guys, where I'm going to is one, no. This next 1 to 6 months, please, let me try to figure out myself there. So within this period, everybody manage yourself. And this is how to manage it. Have those solid plans. We talked about them in the last program. Before you japa. Because when you japa, it's not when you are trying to, first of all, okay, figure out where's the right place for me to stay. How can I even get a house? How can I even find a job? How can I settle with paper? Maybe some people, papers are not to be completely legal. I'm still trying to. So you remember we talked the last time about working underneath the table.
Much extensively, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm doing all those kind of things, and then I'm not trying to access the credit system because I don't do it.
Yeah,
I have settled some of those, and then I take my first credit. Again, I reinforce it. 1. And the intent of that, I know, is for me to build my credit score, but I use it actively over a period of time for me to be able to build my credit score.
Wow.
And I'm very sensitive to the fact that once that credit score and that credit number is in place, people are not abusing it by somebody just tells me I have to run your credit. No, I'll give you credit, but to give you a credit, let me give a practical example. I go to the store to buy something, and the person tells you, if you take our credit card today, you're going to get a 25% discount. They do it a lot. So imagine that you walked into a shop as a new person who just arrived and you bought something. And they saw, oh, you have social security number already. You have formal from a paper perspective. And say, oh, we can give you, if you take our credit card today, we'll give you 25%. 25% is $250 off your purchase. It's very attractive. But ask yourself the question, do you really need this? Because the person who's going to give it to you is going to run your credit score. So back to the question of recent credit, right? You want to be smart where you apply. Okay, enough of that because of time.
Wow. Oh my goodness. This is really something today. I'm sure that everyone who's listening is like super blessed, right? So I don't know if you have questions. We have just like 4 minutes to go. And I don't know, let me check. Cheryl, please, do we have any questions? I'm trying to check as well. If you have questions, okay, all right then. So we have no questions for now. Okay, so can we have some final words from you talking about credit, financial intelligence? Is there anything else? I know we've spoken extensively about budgeting. I mean, that blessed me under managing finances and setting goals. If you're here and you didn't watch that, please go and watch it. It will really, really bless you. But this one today, I mean, I'd just like to have some final word from you. Yeah.
So let me say a couple of things. And again, like you said from the beginning, I'm not a financial expert, but this is something that I have learned and I have lived.
Yeah.
Number 1, is it okay to access credit? Yes. Must I access credit? No.
No.
But I recommend it because of many of the advantages I've explained in this call so far, right? 2, when I access credit, I need to do it with 2 things in mind. 1, I want to be able to use credit in a way that it helps me to build my credit score. And 2, I want to be able to use credit in a way that it helps me to create wealth for the future. Remember the maths we did about, I have $8,000. Do I pay for the car $8,000 now, or I pay $2,000, pay $100 every month over a certain period of time, and take the $6,000 to do something else that is a better need for me today? And what that something else should be something that actually brings some level of profit or addresses a necessity, which means it gives me some level of comfort. And by comfort, the perspective to wealth creation, right? When you think of money, if I'm comfortable, I can make time to earn more money. So keep that in mind. So when we talk about the ability to earn wealth, it's not just the fact that I have to have a business registered in my name. It is the ability to say I can actually, by virtue of, okay, this one is taken care of, I drive myself around, so I don't have to wait 1 hour for somebody to come and pick me up. Right now that I do that, I have 2 hours every day. I can work 2 hours extra every day and make more money. You see my perspective on wealth creation, right? So always think about how you, to access the credit system, always think about how you maximize your credit to be able to create some form of wealth and value back to you. Don't just access credit for anything. Okay? Be very protective of your credit score. Do the right things to make sure that your credit score is growing. As a matter of fact, I view it every month, right? I have notifications that tell me where my credit score is every month. I know the day every month where I review my credit score and I'm like, I need to understand what are the factors that I need to do more on to keep my credit score going. It's like you're protecting that number, because once you have the number in the right spot, a lot of things fall in place for you, right? Money will be available to you for any valuable, reasonable thing you want to use it to do, because lenders will chase you. As a matter of fact, you don't even need to go and look for lenders when you have a good credit score, because they can already see it in the system. And they will be the ones sending you mails every day telling you, and I'm not joking, they're giving you stuff like you go in 24 hours, you're accepting, you will access a lot of money. So protect that very wisely. And very importantly, and we talked about what it feels like to set yourself up for one, especially when you're jackparing. Try to build the habits in Nigeria. Try to start understanding what is my income, what's my expense, what is my potential to save. Your potential to save is zero, then you have no business being in credit. Because what that tells you very clearly is that you have no capability to pay back. That's simple maths. You don't have to go back and forth. So what you need to work on in a situation like, you find yourself in a situation like that again, and I said this just so people understand that this is not, whatever you find yourself in life, you can always walk yourself away from it if you are determined and disciplined enough, right? If you find yourself in a situation where you are income expense flat, zero ability to save, you can also work yourself out of it. You can either increase your income, or you can either and keep your expense flat, or you can reduce your expense and keep your income flat, whichever way you find yourself. If you find yourself in a situation where you cannot do more to increase your income, you start asking yourself, what's my expense that I can reduce? Or if you choose to take credit at that time, it can only be on one condition. It means that you're putting it in something that has a reliable profit that is higher than how much you pay back. Take note, right, on that credit. So I think in summary, those are some of the key things I want people to keep their eyes on, and know that overall, every system is, Dangote has built a refinery in Nigeria. You can't ask him where he got the money from.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's not a single naira that came out of his pocket for that project. I'm fairly sure about that. He would have gone to some financial institutions to say the cost of doing this is $20 billion. And those people would have put the money on the table. And because he would deliver a refinery and make the refinery functional, make the refinery profitable, when he comes tomorrow and says, you know what, I want to buy half of Nigeria, and what I need is 500 billion, there will be people that will be willing to give him the money, happy to give him the money, because the financial institutions profit from that return. So it's really how you set yourself up to use the credit system to enable you make wealth in the future. And starting now is smart, but make sure you start properly. And the last thing I would say is the emphasis on information. When a lot of people japa, they don't get right information. And like I said last call, don't be afraid to access people and ask information. Somebody's offering you a credit card, pick up the phone, call the person. What does this mean? Where can I use this? Where can I not use this? Try as much as possible to find the time to read the thin lines. Because before you sign that document, make sure you are on top of everything that has been said there. Let me just give you a tip that will shock you, and why I say pay attention to the information. You take a credit card, it's a promotional credit card. They tell you, oh, it's Father's Day, whatever, you get 0% payment for 12 months. It's exciting when you hear that, right?
Yeah.
But let me shock you with what the caveat could be in that document. The caveat could be that if you do not finish paying up the credit you use on that credit card by the end of that 12 months, when the 0% happens, there is a penalty rate of 22%, which will be applied to the very first purchase you made 12 months ago. You see the example I gave you? You see the example I gave you now? Very typical of many financial institutions, but people don't read that line. Oh, 0% interest for 12 months. Take it, bam.
I know.
And you miss it because, for example, you have not done the right analysis, right?
Yeah.
And you miss it. And guess what? The bank now comes and charges you 22% from your very first purchase till that time. So that they've now effectively increased your debt because you did not pay attention to what was in that document.
Hey, my people, read. We need
information is very important. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. I wish we could go on and on and on and on, but we have to end this here because this is a lot already. And I feel like somebody just needs to watch this again and digest all over. Please do me a favor. If you have friends who live abroad, I can tell you for free that there are many people who don't have this much information. You know, they think they know, but it would be best if they know more. Okay, because the more you know, the more revelation you have and the more decisions you're able to take. Okay, because what we're talking about right now is making informed decisions. Okay, and you can only do that when you get the right information from the right persons. And that's why we are here in Relocating Right, to help you with your proper planning as you travel, and then of course with immigration, settling, and all of that. Thank you so much, Eddie, for coming. In spite of the fact that you have so much on your table, you still chose to be here this morning with you. It's evening right now. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sure that we'll have a reason to call you back again, and I'm sure that you will not say no.
Always willing to be here. I think it's important that people have the right information when they make these decisions. Yes. I've learned a couple of things in my experience of being in the US for this long, right? So more than happy to share. Thank God for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity and for doing this for people.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone who stayed on the call. I can see you guys. God bless you. I want to say to you, please, if you have not subscribed, kindly do that. And do me a favor, can you please let somebody know about this? Share with your friends. Share with your friends who are about to jackpot. Share with your friends who have recently traveled, even your family and friends who are abroad, who've lived abroad. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that right after now. My siblings live abroad, and I'm going to send the video to them and say, guys, listen to this. I don't know if there's anything here that you feel can be a blessing to you. Please do listen, and I know that they'll be grateful they did, just like you are right now. Thank you so much, everyone. This is Relocating Right. I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. On Tuesday, we're going to have a brief one talking about decluttering. Okay, so a lot of people like, what am I going to do about these things, you know, in my house just before they relocate? So 30 minutes with Tosin Shoge on Tuesday. She would help us with how and what to do, and, you know, even get to understand the things that you need to declutter, the things, all of it, everything surrounding that topic we're going to deal with on Tuesday by the grace of God. And then next week, Sunday, I'm going to be having Pastor Delio Shumake. Okay, he was the very first guest that we had on this show, and we're bringing him back again because it's still got so much to share with us. All right, guys, take care of you and have a very, very fantastic day. All right, thank you. Bye. Nobody should be under pressure when it comes to making a decision about the place to live. My emphasis is always about information, especially when a man is going with his entire family. You have to find out about the city, find out about the country, find out about so many things that are necessary to or essential, to the comfort of your family. My name is Tulu Aladesomi, and this is Relocating Right on YouTube. I want to encourage you to subscribe to this channel so that you can get notifications and all that information that you need. From time to time, you get the opportunity to ask questions, and then you also get the opportunity to have some of those little details that will be most helpful to you on this trip. Let's go on this journey.